Hey everyone, Jordan Jeske here from the project. So I just wanted to create this video for you guys, if you read the article, to give you a little more in-depth kind of instruction on what we were talking about and kind of give you a little bit more understanding on what we need to do and what we need to feel when we're doing these exercises and kind of why we need to do them. So for us, when we talk about kind of that rib and pelvic position, like I mentioned at the very beginning, it makes a big difference if a lot of people create extension too much from their low back, from their mid back, and we want good extension and flexion patterns, but when we're thinking about posture, we really, in general, when all of our movements, we need to be more hip driven. So I teach a lot of clients when we're doing like things like deadlifts or lunges or maybe doing some side to side work, is be able to load through the hip versus kind of doing this and losing posture. So something as simple as touching my toes, yes, I'm looking for hamstring flexibility, but I'm also looking to see how they move through their hips. So is it like this, where they're really rounding their back, or is this posterior weight shift where they load and then can drop down from there? So we utilize, especially again, if you're doing any yard work in the back, we're kind of hunched over, we come up and we're in a ton of back pain, right? So being able to be able to load properly, it's going to save our back long term. And again, for a lot of people that are maybe stretching a lot or going to chiro, physio, or massage, those are all great tools and they'll work, but if you're continually reverting back and doing the same old thing, you're not gonna be making any progress. You're always gonna have to go back where we want you guys to get strong so that you can make some progress, right? You're gonna have to get some adjustments along the way, but we want that long-term sustainability. So, talking about that pelvic position, again, so if I'm slouching, right, and I tell you to sit up straight, or if I go to sit up straight, here's what we normally do, right? And that may not look too bad right now to our naked eye, but there's a difference between this, which again, I kind of talked about losing this rib position, so the core is not really engaged as much as it should, and it's just kind of cranking into my low back and my vertebrae. And again, this isn't a position I'm going to be able to hold for a long time, but there's a difference, again, like I said, between this and then just rolling my pelvis forward. So again, just look at this, again, taking this belly button, kind of tilting it down, and you can see the difference. I don't lose my posture by trying to do this and pull my shoulder blades back. Roll that pelvis forward. I haven't changed anything to my shoulders. I already feel more upright, feel way more supported. And then if I want to, I can just slightly kind of pull my shoulder blades down and back. And now I'm in a really good position. So my hips are doing the work for me, which again, if you're able to get strong and maintain it there, eventually along the spine, especially maybe if you have any shoulder issues or some upper back issues or whatever, that eventually will sometimes take care of itself once the body knows how to properly stabilize. So you're gonna feel some hip flexors working, and again, that's okay. We want them to actively work, right? So again, when we have lumbar supports and like those things that those devices that pull our shoulders back, it's very passive. So I want you guys to kind of think about actively pulling it in, right? Now I'm really supported here, can lift up nice and tall. This is gonna be a position where you can maintain for a lot longer. So that's gonna be number one thing that we really wanna focus on. So give that a go. Now, for the elbow curls, we want to be able to stay in this position the entire time. So we want to be able to, once our pelvis and spine is in good position, we now need to take ourselves through kind of ranges of motion, where if I'm doing this exercise in this position, I'm not going to get the same effect. So again, roll my pelvis forward, nice and engaged. Think about also kind of like maybe squeezing a yoga block in between the knees. Then I'm going to bring my arms up, again, nice and tall. I'm going to bring my elbows forward, and then as far back as I can, really squeezing those shoulder blades back and forth. Okay? So again, some of us will have a hard time even touching here, right? Bring those elbows and then back. But the more you do it, the more you're gonna start to open up. Again, like I said, we could like stretch the chest out and all that sort of stuff to kind of feel like we get opened up, but if we don't strengthen these posterior chain muscles, we're just eventually gonna always kind of come back to that position. So one of the number one things is let's strengthen first. You'll have to probably do some stretching, but in the long run, that's gonna be the best. Next up is hip thrusters. So our glutes, again, like I talked about kind of when we're standing here in this pelvis position, most of us when we stand for a long period of time, right, what we see is this anterior tilt. So if I'm in this arched position, my glutes are turned off and my core is turned off, right? So now my low back is like taking the brunt of the work, which I don't want. So as I kind of tuck my pelvis a little bit, glutes turn on, core turns on, now I'm a lot more stable and I can maintain that position for a lot longer. So if we're at the office, sitting a lot, right? If those glutes are weak and not as active as they should be, if I'm just walking around or standing, or maybe we're going to play with our kids, or we play, extracurricular, men's league, women's leagues and stuff like that outside of work, there's more of a chance for injury if these guys aren't working the way they should. You're running, something happens, right? So again, strengthening your glutes will help strengthen the rest of the body up the posterior chain. So from here, you're gonna drop down onto a bench or chair. I want the edge of this bench right underneath my shoulder blade. So we see a lot of people kind of come down too low and then they kind of break their neck like that. So here, keep a neutral posture. So as I drop down, I'm not here. I'm gonna come up and then lift up. Now, if you look at my feet, like I said in the article, we want them right underneath our knees or just outside. We see a lot of people kind of come too narrow and then kind of go to your toes. So again, 90 degrees. I like to have my hands across my ribs, drop down, and then straight up. 1, 2. Again, a lot of people like to create that extension from their low back, where again, I may even add a little tuck in, and now I'm actually not even coming up as high. My glutes kick in a lot sooner, and I'm able to maintain this position, okay? So you can also do single leg ones as well, right? To challenge it a little bit more, straight up. Again, really working on a lot of that hip stability. So that would be a good one for you guys to kind of work on as well. After that, we got our wall slides. So this one I normally do at the gym, or if I'm working on myself, I'm gonna sit right back, right to the ground, get my butt right up against the wall. You can have a little stool that's like 10 inches. Or for, again, like I said, in the office setting, right? Got a little clothes on, something in this position. So slight bend of the knees, not doing a wall sit. This will just allow you to kind of flatten that low back against the wall. And then from here, again, keep my head against the wall. So if I was to look at my back, everything, there's no daylight in between. From here, I'm gonna open up into this W position. Okay, now again, when most of us bring our arms above our head, we flare these ribs. So that's why we talked about the exhale as you lift your arms up. So here, I'm gonna inhale through my nose. Exhale. Driving up. Inhale as I come down. Lift. That exhale helps keep your ribs down. So at home, if you inhale through your nose and then exhale until you have nothing left to breathe out, you're gonna feel these ribs start to come down and tighten up. So if you were to cough or when you laugh, right, that is the position we want to kind of maintain. So that exhale helps counterbalance any sort of extension that wants to happen. Now at the top, we want to make sure that we're not shrugging, all right? So as I get up top here, I kind of do a little, I'm in this wide position now, I'm going to kind of pull those shoulder blades down as much as I can. And you're going to start to feel some posterior shoulders, but you're going to feel a lot of work through that mid or upper back, and even mid back too, depending on how tight we are through there. So really strengthening those muscles. Again, when I'll do 10 reps, I'll come out of it and I feel way more, way taller, way more upright, and just in a stronger position as well. Again, opening up helps externally rotate those shoulders so we're not so rounded, okay? Next one is we got that wall knee press, okay? So we're gonna get our foot right up against the wall. We're gonna just get into this athletic position. Again, think about flat back, we don't wanna be too arched. So here, I'm just gonna lean against the wall with my shoulder. Now my hip is still off the wall, okay? So there's a space there. I'm gonna bend this one knee, like I said, at 90 degrees, so it's not way up here. So still staying low. Again, I don't like to, some people go way too narrow, so just get a good base, so you can really kind of lean into it. From here, again, there's space between my hip, my knee's up against the wall, and all I'm gonna do now is push this knee into this wall for 20 to 30 seconds. Just holding it, focusing on your breathing. You're gonna get a lot of work right into this glute med here. You'll feel some hips and glutes on this side as well, but you should get a lot through this hip. I'll do 20, 30 seconds aside. Again, this is a great one for creating lots of stability side to side as well, which again, creating that hip neutrality long term will help with that postural alignment as well. Lastly, we got our pull aparts. So again, you can use any sort of resistance band. I love using these red super bands. I get them from any sort of local store, so Physique Fitness, Fitness Town, things like that. From here, I'm gonna get nice and tall. Ideally, if you're doing a seated one, you can do these standing as well. I'd roll into that position that we talked about. If you're standing, we want to try and squeeze our glutes and core, because a lot of times when people pull that band across, they break. You're still strengthening the shoulders, but again, we're not in that optimal position. So from here, do a standing one for you. Again, I'm going to tuck my pelvis, bring it here, bring it right across my chest. Keep it nice and tight. Keep my elbows locked out the entire time. So I'm just going to adjust. Maybe I have to just go here to where I can finish those reps. Now, I don't want, a lot of people start up here, right? We don't want to shrug, we don't want to use these traps. Those are what's kind of over dominating all the time anyways. So tuck, I'm gonna pull that across my nipple line or below around that sternum. So again, think about pulling those shoulder blades into your back pocket. From here, I'm gonna rep out 10 reps. I'll also add in an underhand one because that underhand, that external rotation helps pull my shoulder blade back, which is gonna put me in a better position, and we need to strengthen that. So here, this one's harder than the overhand. Again, I'll do 10 reps. Something you can also add in as well is going into kind of this hinged over position, right, and doing them that way. You can do some single leg ones. So now you're working on kind of, so say if you're going down and doing yard work and you're in this position, do we have strength in that upper back to support us versus just collapsing, right? So we can start to make it a little more kind of relatable to what you do kind of in your day-to-day life, your lifestyle. So give those exercises a go. Let me know if you have any questions. Follow us on the project_YAG on Instagram or on Facebook, and hopefully you guys get through that and start to feel better, move better, and perform better on a daily basis. Let's make some progress.